what got us to doing $20 million a year in development wasn't what was going to get us to do $100 million. One of the keys that really allowed us to grow and scale was having the general contracting company in-house. That worked up until the bottleneck became the general contracting company. We needed to get rid of it. I heard a talk from a gentleman at an event. He said, I went from being a fund manager, managing $1 billion in assets, having 100 employees, to having 5 employees, and I made more money. He outsourced everything. He hired strategic partners to come in and do it. And so that's what we do now. We still have the construction company. We know how to manage it, but we outsource all the overhead, everything to a GC that then does it, and we manage them. And we have somebody in-house that manages that GC.
Welcome to the Path to Passive podcast, where we talk about building wealth and empowering lifestyle through commercial real estate investing for tech professionals. I always wish that other tech professionals reaching financial freedom had documented their journey along the way, so I'm doing it for the rest of us. Join us as we explore stories, many failures, and lessons learned along the way. I hope you enjoy and subscribe. Welcome to the episode of Path to Passive. Today's guest I have is Brandon Cobb. And Brandon, you've got a couple things going here. I'd love to unpack your story here. It's really cool. Before we get into that, you've got this construction company that you had started out with, but you've stepped into, emphasized more of the raising capital. You said that's one of the best skills that you can have inside of the real estate space, probably business space too, right? Love to get your thoughts on that. And as well as what you're here to really educate people on, which is the Land Development Accelerator. And I'm really pleased to have you here because this is a space where I know it can be really creative. And coming back from your background, at least where you got started from medical device sales and landing your dream job and being in there for a bit and making some quick pivots as well. It's cool to see how you've taken that mind frame that lots of people have lived so far, going through school, getting their dream job, and kind of getting this awakening to doing something next. So happy to have you here. And for those just getting to hear from you for the first time around, could you talk to us about what your businesses are right now? And then tell us how you got into that dream job first and maybe what that pivot was that brought you into real estate.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So if you had told us we'd be inventing these new housing communities 8 years ago, I'd have looked at you like you had 10 heads because I was very happy. I had no dreams or aspirations to get into development. I'm what you call an accidental entrepreneur. My journey started where I was a W-2 employee out of college, and my dream was medical device sales. That's all I wanted to do. I really loved the idea of being in surgery every day, helping people, very intrinsically motivated. I wanted to sell something that I believed in that made a difference. And so that was medical sales. My uncle, he was doing it for Medtronic, doing spinal products. And like that, he was my idol. That's what I wanted to do. So it took me several years, finally broke into that industry. My boss who trained me and finally gave me the shot to get in, like he was like a father figure to me. He was a mentor. And I loved what I did. I got to show up every single day, hang out in the surgery room, train people on my products, rub shoulders with successful orthopedic surgeons, sell hospital products. I was making great money. I mean, life was just a dream. And then one Friday afternoon, I got a call from my boss. He said, hey, come meet me at the Starbucks. And I was having like an amazing day as a sales rep. One of those days where you're like excited to tell your boss how much money you've made him. And he sits me down, and before I can tell him how great of a day I had, he fires me. And just like that, my cozy career in medical device sales was over. Yeah. No more. And I'll never forget the feeling that day, just the shock of what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? I had the Rookie of the Year Sales Award and all this stuff. And I was like, what did I do wrong? I love my job. And after a while, it became very clear that I learned a very valuable lesson, which was nobody was going to look out for my financial well-being but me. You can put the blood, sweat, and tears in, work for decades for a company. You're just one economic event, restructuring, merger and acquisition, whatever, away from losing your job. It's not if you're going to lose your job, it's when. Mm-hmm. And so for me, that's what started my entrepreneur journey. And at first, I made all the mistakes. I started a course on how to break into medical sales. It failed. I started an online motivational blog because I was all in the motivational stuff. It failed. I said, you know what? I'm really into the Tony Robbins stuff. You kind of pointed out while we were on the call before this, like I've got a picture of him in the back and one of his quotes on the back of my wall. I said, I'm going to be like Tony. I'm going to do life coaching. And Steven, you're not going to believe this, but it turns out not many people want to take life coaching advice from a 26-year-old. So that failed. But then I discovered this vehicle called real estate, and I saw the opportunity, I saw the potential, and I stopped doing everything else and I hyper focused on just the real estate thing. And I sold all my retirement accounts. I bought my first investment property. By the way, if you're listening to this, don't do that. I paid the penalties and the fees. Don't sell your retirement accounts and do that. This is not financial advice, and God bless. I wish I could go back and do it all over again. But I used that money to start my business, and I made like $30,000 on that first house flip. I flipped it and made 30 grand. And if you've ever watched the movie Batman, where the Joker like slides down the big pile of money and turns around, lights it on fire with gasoline, that's what I was doing with marketing dollars. But I grew that business to doing like 35, 40 house flips per year. And then I started building houses, and I started to have a need to expand the number of homes we were building. So I needed to go after land that I could not build one or two houses on, which is what most builders focus on, these empty lots. I needed to build 40, 50 houses. So that's how we got into land development. We started getting knocks on the door from these big national builders that said, hey, we want to buy your community. And we said, well, no, we're building houses. It's not for sale. Get lost. Get out of here. And they said, well, what if we offered you this for it? And they presented a purchase contract to us. And we looked at the purchase contract. My partner looked at me. I looked at him. We looked at the purchase contract, and we said, yes, it's for sale. You can 100% have it. And do you want the one across the street too? We'll sell you that piece of land. So that's how we got into land development. So you fast forward this today. The reason I tell you that story is you can figure this thing out, right? Development is not for first time. I'll be honest with you, because I know a lot of your listeners are like first time real estate entrepreneurs. It's not great for you're doing your first real estate deal. But once you've got some real estate transactions underneath your belt, you got 45, 50 grand of liquid capital available to get one of these developments approved, then you're in business. So as long as you got your cash flow set, you're what I would call a mature real estate entrepreneur operator, you got 40, 50 grand in the bank, you can then start branching out and doing development.
Just first things first. Super cool to hear you put that all together in those couple of minutes. It's like, yes, this is this story of the problem that I faced, how I solved it, and was resilient to move on to the next thing and so forth. But that's like a decade of your life, right?
Yeah, I started in 2017. I guess it's been 9 years.
Yeah, exactly. So what's said in like 2 minutes is great, but with not to underemphasize the cuts and bruises and everything of sliding down that all that mountain of money and lighting it all on fire. I think you had said something like you were almost $100,000 in business debt in 1.2, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 98 grand in credit card debt. That's when I was about 3 years in. And yeah, guys, I made all the mistakes because I wasn't paying myself, and I was just dumping money into the business thinking, oh, this thing will just explode. And no, you've got to be able to manage cash flow. And that's where the real learning happened, was when I ran out of all my money, $98,000 credit card debt, and I'm flipping houses, and I'm like, what am I going to do?
Yeah. Yeah, almost 200 houses. I think it was, you said almost 187 or something like that. I might have that number off a little bit, but quite a few year over year, and definitely some lessons learned. I really appreciate the honesty too that you were talking about with land development isn't for something that you get into right away. I hear you talk about the Land Development Accelerator as well, but again, just coming back to appreciate the honesty of this isn't for that getting started into a real estate person. Right? This is someone that you want to make sure you have the right fit for as well, which is usually people who have gone through the ringer, kind of like yourself, have gotten those cuts and bruises, and are business owners, right? Maybe have done some land flipping and things like that. But tell me about what this model actually is. Some people, when they hear land development, their mind can go all over the place. So what exactly are you talking about with land development?
So there's 3 phases of development, and I didn't know this back when I got into it. The last phase is what everyone's familiar with, which is building and constructing the homes, right? That's what people think of. But there's a lot that goes into it before that. So it's not like you can just go out tomorrow. We're like 3 to 6 million homes short, depending on who you ask. And they're like, why don't you just go build 3 to 6 million homes? Well, here's the reason why. You can't just go find a piece of land and start building. Phase 3 is actually building the homes. But before that, you have to do phase 2, which is you have to put the sewer, the water, you have to grade the land out. You have to put the roads on it. It takes a while to do that, right? So that's phase 2. And then phase 1, it takes a long time too. That's the approval process, where you take a piece of farmland and you go through the approval process to get it approved for development by the city. That can take, if you're in the Tennessee market, a year here. If you're in California, God bless your soul. I don't, just stay out of New York, California. Right. Don't do that here. So there's 3 phases to it. One is the entitlement process, getting it approved. The second phase is doing the horizontal development, the roads, the utilities, the water, installation in the ground. And then the third phase is the actual construction, though. We do all 3, but most of what we do right now is just phase 1, phase 2.
Okay. And you say the first part, and I appreciate that you said phase 3, then phase 2, and phase 1, kind of working backwards. I know that's the model that, or I've heard that's the model that you go through as well. You want to build to, maybe this isn't the right word, but it's kind of build to fit, build whatever someone is buying, right?
You want to design the community for the end buyer. That's what you're getting at. Yes. So when we go get a piece of land approved, the buyer for that's very heavily involved. So because the biggest mistake I see, and I get a lot of these, is people just try to shove as much density on the land as possible. This is a mistake new developers make. They're like, oh, wow, let's just put 100 townhomes on it, make them 11 feet wide, and let's go sell it. Well, no, it needs a 22-foot wide townhome product. So it's really 50 units that you're going to get out of here. And sorry, your payday's half of what you thought it was going to be. So yeah, you want to design it with the house, the end product that's going to go on it in mind.
Got it. There's multiple exit strategies here, right? Multiple exit strategies. And you're talking about phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. But like you were talking about here, you want to design it for the end buyer. Is it typically someone who is like retail buyer, or is this someone else that would buy these pieces of land or properties?
Whoever's building the homes, that's what's got to fit on the land. So I'll tell you, I made a mistake one time because we line our buyer up during our due diligence period. Right. We don't move forward with something unless we can line the buyer up. It's very important because your buyer pool for these things is very small. And this works for any type of real estate. I'll tell you the process that we use to work in single family residential, which is national home builders. So that's who we work with. But this same thing works if you want to build multifamily, self-storage, industrial, whatever it is. Line the buyer for that up during your due diligence period. Totally. So they buy it from you as soon as it's approved. You can mitigate a lot of risk by doing that. But we had one where we bought 40 approved plats. So 40 units were approved. We just need to go in and develop it. So we took it to our buyers and we said, hey guys, we've got this right here. We want to sell it to you. And the lots were 30 feet wide. And we had 5-foot setbacks on each side. A setback is the distance the house has to sit from the property line, right? Because all the houses can't be connected. Well, if you have a 30-foot wide a 30-foot wide lot, and 5 feet of setbacks on each side, that's a 20-foot wide home. Guess who didn't have a 20-foot wide home? None of the national builders. So we had to go back and get it replatted for a 40-foot wide lot, and that fit their 30-foot wide product. And we lost like 6 lots, I think, and we were selling the lots for $80,000 a piece. So do the math, that's $500,000. Luckily for us, we bought it right, and we still made good money on it, but it's $500,000.
Yep, still a loss. Tell me about the program here, Land Development Accelerator. Walk us through like what the goal is, what some of the things that you offer there. I know one of the things that you offer there is a huge thing. You're a big fan of coaching and masterminds. I'd like to pull on that thread a little bit with you as well, but I'd love to hear a little more about the Land Development Accelerator. Like, why did you put this together? We kind of mentioned who the right fit is, but maybe you can expand on that too. And then maybe what some of the outcomes are of that as well.
Yeah. So about 5 years ago, we were looking for a mastermind community to be around other developers because I had invested in coaching and mastermind when I first started. I did 1 year of entrepreneurship, found a mastermind community, joined it. It was the best thing I ever did. 10 years ago, it was flipping houses. So I was in a room trying to grow my house flipping business with other people that were flipping 40, 50 houses per year. So if I needed something, I was like, man, I need to hire a sales rep for the first time. I have no clue what I'm doing. Someone's like, oh, well, here's an onboarding guide, and this is what you want to do. Here's why it's hire. And it's just like, here you go. I'm like, that would have taken me 2 years to do. Hey guys, who are y'all using for mailers? I'm paying 46 cents. So like, oh, I'm paying 36 cents. Here's this company. Saved me $3,000 a month on my marketing. Like paid for the mastermind membership on day one.
Yeah.
So we saw the value of masterminds and being able to lean on other business owners in a similar business for advice and for the things that they're using that's working in the business. Could not find it for land development. Nothing out there. And so over the years, we had to figure this out ourselves, which was not fun. I've got all the lashes on my back from pioneering this thing. So like, just don't do that. And I had some people kind of help me throughout my period, but I've made 7-figure mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
That's $1 million mistakes, right? And that's not like a hypothetical, like, oh, like we could have made this money, but it didn't work out. No, like I lost 7 figures on deals. I've made a lot of mistakes, and I didn't want to see that happen to other people. There was a need for it. So we created the community to be able to give back and to be able to foster a community of other developers that can lean on each other to not make the same mistakes, to share what's working in their business, to grow. Because when everybody's sharing in a community like that, amazing things happen. Like we just finished our weekly AI call in the mastermind community, how the agents that this person's building and what they've automated. And hey, look, here's the instruction manual, copy and paste this. You now got your bookkeeper agent. I don't have to go spend 30, 40 hours building a bookkeeper agent. Amazing stuff like that's getting shared. So that's why we built it. That's kind of the thing behind it. Is it's designed, if you are a developer and you want to connect with other developers and figure out what's working in the business, it's great for you. If you're maybe a builder looking to scale the number of homes you're building, or a land flipper trying to do bigger land deals, or maybe you're a very mature house flipper or wholesaler, like you've been doing it a while, you've got stable cash flow and you got 40, 50 grand to invest in your first development deal to get it done, this program's for you. Who it's not for is W-2 people. This is not a side gig. That people that don't have 40, 50 grand liquid to do their first entitlement deal. You got to pay to get land approved for stuff. Those are some of the prerequisites to it. And if you want any of this stuff, we've got more information at learnlanddevelopment.com. There's a ton of free resources. We got a course on the website you can do. And if you want to learn more about the mastermind, there's a video on there that explains it.
Super cool. The cash isn't the problem, I would say. It would be more of the time and maybe the background of experience. I know you have HBG Capital as well here. And so I'm wondering, what does it look like if people actually want to participate, but they don't have the time to do it? Because let's go back to what you were talking about. It's not for people that are W-2, but, and the second qualifier I heard was about the 40, 50 grand liquid to go get entitlements. But is it really about the experience as well as the time to actually monitor and make sure that things get done? Is that kind of where the disqualifier is?
Yeah, your foundation needs to look like this to get in development. You need cash flow because it's going to take you a year to get these things. It's going to take you 6 months to go probably find the deal, get one under contract, and it's going to take you a year to get it approved. So you're looking at a year and a half. If you don't have cash flow to support yourself during that time period, you're not going to make it. This is a great bolt-on to an existing mature real estate business. The people in the group that we have are hard money lenders, they're builders, they're land flippers, they're big time wholesalers. They've got like a mature business that's putting off cash flow and they're wanting to get into development. That's the real differentiator right there. That's your prerequisite in order to be successful in this.
Cool. That answers that. How can passive investors, LPs, participate?
Yeah. So like if you're a W-2 person and you like the idea of this particular, if you like the idea of diversifying and having pre-sold land development deals that are sold to like Lennar and D.R. Horton, this might be an option for you. We've got more information at hbgcapital.net. You can go there, check it out. If you want to watch our video that explains our whole investment thesis, again, you can go to hbgcapital.net/waitlist. So it's pronounced Harry Bob Gary HBG Capital. And it breaks it all down, but you can invest money and I find the deal. Our company manages it. We do everything. It's turnkey. You just invest capital in it. So it's a good option if you just don't have the time to learn how to do this stuff, but you still want to make money from development. If you like the idea of investing in deals that are pre-sold, that have a buyer lined up already, and you're just the capital to get the deal from unapproved to approved so it can be sold, then that's a good fit for a portfolio somewhere.
It's definitely a great place to go more in depth. Do you mind talking about that just a little bit more here too? We'll make sure we talk about sprinkle in some of the more of the Land Development Accelerator stuff, but primarily this is people that are looking to invest their capital, $50K, $100K, et cetera, into deals. Is it something where would they be getting like a lump sum after a period of time, or is it something that would be more of a cash flow play for them along the way?
Yeah. So there's some nuances here. I'll kind of compare it to multifamily since that's like the asset a lot of people understand. With multifamily, you've got tenants that are paying rent. So you usually get a quarterly distribution. I love multifamily. I got my money in several multifamily investments, all of which are not doing very well because of what happened with interest rates and the bridge debt. So I'm an LP in multifamily. I understand it. I get it. So you get a little bit of cash flow advantage there, though. I don't think anybody's multifamily deals have been paying any cash flow the past 3 years. At least mine haven't.
Right.
So that's a big advantage. The other is depreciation. So that building, you can depreciate the building. You can kind of get some pass-through tax write-offs with it. So there's some economies there that are really attractive. With land, you don't have those. There's no tenants paying money. You don't have any depreciation, and you're not holding it for 5 to 7 years like you would a multifamily asset anyway. Our land deals are like a year and a half, max 2-year turnaround. Great if you don't want to keep your capital locked up for 7 years, like most multifamily deals are probably stuck in right now. There's no depreciation. But what we do is we do a preferred return. So if it's an entitlement deal where we're just selling the whole thing, your money accrues and it's paid out at the sale. So you get all your capital plus all your interest paid out at the sale. If we're developing the lots, you'll start to get some cash flow come back in once those lots start to sell off and debt's paid down. So you can see some come in there, but yeah, you're typically not seeing cash flow just because it's land. You're not getting the depreciation benefits, but we offer a very healthy preferred return before the general partners get any kind of performance compensation.
Awesome. Cool. You've been in a bunch of masterminds. You just talked about this as well when you were first starting to flip houses. You were doing it on your own, sounded like for a year, and then you joined one and a series of others after that. I'm curious, you found yourself where you are and it looks like it's working and working well. And that takes a focus as well to do things. And so this is a 2-part question. The one is, how have you maintained that? What is your philosophy on spotting opportunities and knowing if something is right for you or discarding it and pivoting to something else?
You mean like a deal as if it's a land development deal or a...
No, more specifically, you went from flipping houses to doing development, but there was also a period of time where you were doing construction and then you found like raising capital.
Yeah.
And I know some of that is organic. It's like, well, here's the next constraint in our theory of constraints, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right. But at some point, and I'm sure you know some people that have stayed in their business forever and never learned to, we'll call it, evolve into the next thing. Right.
Yeah.
And so you have in the last 10 years gone through many cycles, right? Many evolutions as well. How have you known when it was like, maybe I should stick with this a little bit more, or much like you were telling me about some changes you've made in the construction company as well, where you've kind of stepped back a little bit, still managing it, still overseeing it, but you're focusing on now the Land Development Accelerator and serving that community more and focusing on that instead. So how do you make those decisions?
So I'll give you the pivot thing. So when we pivoted from rehabbing houses to building houses, the reason we did that was we had a house that was fire damaged. And I knew it had to be a deal because we could buy it for less than what the land was worth. And we're like, the foundation's good, the first floor good, just the second floor's got some fire damage. So we bought that house and said, like, well, this will be our first new build. And we had done some pretty full gut rehabs, right? So we weren't scared of a lot of construction. We were looking at this going, it can't be that much different than a full gut rehab where we like gut it down to the studs. It just can't be that much different, right? Because we're going to have to get down to the studs anyway to scrape out all the black burned wood. We rebuilt that house and sold it in 6 months. We made 3 times the amount of money on that deal as we did flipping houses. And we're like, why are we flipping houses? We should be doing new construction. Now, at the same time, we had done a very good job of measuring our marketing. When I first started, we were flipping $250,000 homes and we're making like $35,000 a house. And it was costing us about $3,300 per contract to acquire it in marketing. I was having to go on about 6 appointments to get a deal. And we had some other stuff measured, like how many phone calls to an appointment. I can't remember what those were. But fast forward a few years, and we weren't flipping $250,000 homes. We were flipping $450,000 homes. And we weren't making $35,000. We were making $25,000. And it wasn't $3,300 per contract. It was $6,600 per contract. The gurus had just pushed a ton of people in the space. It was very hot and sexy, and HGTV was popular. The space was just getting flooded with
Mm-hmm.
new people, and it was getting very saturated. And we're like, man, this is a lot of risk making
Mm-hmm.
25, 30 grand on a $450,000 house. The market's just got to go down a little bit
Yep.
and your profit's gone. So that combined with the new build thing was the first pivot. With the new builds, it was working. We just needed to do more of them. We realized it took just as much time and effort to talk to one person where we could take a house. And in Nashville, it's very popular to tear down an existing old house and you could build two in its place in certain areas that have that zoning. We were able to do that and say, we just need to go after land where we can do a lot. So we had the need to grow and scale the number of homes. And man, do I want to talk to 500-600 people a year and do 30 new builds, right? There's a funnel for that. Or do I want to talk to 30 people per year and do 2 deals?
Yep.
And that was the pivot that we had right there. The other was what got us to doing $20 million a year in development wasn't what was going to get us to do $100 billion. And I had this realization when we're trying to grow and scale. One of the keys that really allowed us to grow and scale was having the general contracting company in-house. We could manage it ourselves. We could control the risk. We could control the costs. We had a PM. We were paying 70, 80 grand a year to build 10 homes, where if we'd hired a builder, that'd have been $300,000. So there's economies of scale, right? Well, that worked up until a point, up until the bottleneck became the general contracting company. To really grow and scale, we needed to get rid of it, because when you're vertically integrated, it's great. When you're smaller, you control things and you can scale quicker. But when you get bigger, you have to grow all 3 companies at the same time. And it was a pain in the butt managing that general contracting business. And I heard a talk from a gentleman at an event that I was at one summer. It was July. And this was a family office. He's very wealthy. He was in his early 60s. And he said something that really caught my attention. And later, it caught my attention so much, I was like, I got to figure out how to get this guy's phone number and ask him what he did here. But he said, I went from being a fund manager, managing $1 billion in assets, having 100 employees, to having 5 employees, and I made more money. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
What did you do? I have to know. And so what he did was, instead of having all the overhead, he outsourced everything. He hired strategic partners to come in and do it. And so that's what we do now. So we still have the construction company. We know how to manage it, but we outsource all the overhead, everything, to a GC that then does it. And we manage them. And we have somebody in-house that manages that GC, right? And so this is a lot of what we teach in some of the programs, especially for the builders that come in, is like, you are managing all these subs. You should be managing other builders because you know how to do it. And you're going to be able to grow and scale a whole lot easier when you do that. And if the deal doesn't pencil to do that, don't do that deal. Right. Yep. So those are some of the pivots and the reasons why.
What's next? What do you want to do next here? With Land Development Accelerator, this is the focus, to grow that, continue to serve the builder community. Actually, before you answer that, I saw a Facebook post you did where you were talking about agents right now. And this is a question I like to ask all the guests. You were talking about that bookkeeping agent, and you had the photo with you and your mastermind on there. Of course, DMU agents, if you want to know what you're doing with that. So how are you introducing, or what are you doing to introduce technology? What are you doing with, it could be AI, not AI. Feel free to talk about that too. It's the buzzword, it's real, it's tangible, etc. But I'd love to know about that, because I ask other people that and they're like, yes, we use it in maybe the newsletter or a little bit here, a little bit there. But I'm in AWS. I see agents going in enterprise sale for all kinds of companies. It's very interesting to see all the different use cases, especially as we're here talking about real estate. So it seems like you've really dove in, and I'm really curious to know how you're applying. You don't have to give away direct them to wherever else to learn more about the things, but I'd love to understand the use cases.
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, we talk forever. So what's next as far as the development business? Like, we're scaling to 100 million through strategic partnerships, right? Like, we want to find the deals. We want to be the capital sources. That's what we want to do. Like, we're not going to manage those. We'll hire strategic partners that have been doing that for 20 years that are way better than us to help manage those deals. We'll continue to grow the coaching community, the mastermind community. We see a huge benefit there. We just hopped on, like, we do a weekly AI call in our mastermind community that's separate from the other coaching call, because it's just so important right now. Yes. Agents are hitting the economy. This is going to be the most disruptive year we've ever lived in humanity. AI is going to cause the fastest change in the shortest period of time we've ever seen. It's going to make the internet look like a drop in the bucket compared to what's coming.
Absolutely.
And I couldn't be more excited about it. Technology, you got to embrace it. Like some of the things that I'm doing, I've built a master agent. And if anybody's wondering how to go and do that, there's so many courses you can take and do it. But I have a DigitalOcean server. I've got Claude Code connected. I use Visual Studio Code. That's kind of the gold standard. I run all my agents off of that server, and the sky is literally the limit. I've got a bookkeeping agent. I've automated that. I took a picture of my thing. I think I showed you. I took a picture of my bill. I've got a Google Drive folder set up with my credit card, and it'll go access it, pay the bills, upload it to QuickBooks, categorize it, and then go update the budget for that particular item. This is crazy. I used to send those pictures as I'd get certain bills in the mail to like my controller who would do it. So that's gone. All of our sales conversations are managed by an agent up until a human needs to manage them, and it'll turn it over. We've got my master agent controls all of my sub agents underneath it. And I mean, I've got like 15 agents right now. I'll probably have 30 by the end of next month. I've got Otter AI listening to every Zoom call that I do, and it's just feeding my master agent information and it's storing it. I want it to know as much as humanly possible about me, because the more information it knows about me and my business, oh my gosh, the information that I get, the recommendations is amazing. One of the homework assignments we did just 2 weeks ago with everyone in the mastermind community, and it's just changed so much since, is you go to Claude, create a Claude project. Don't even build an agent, just get Claude project and give it access to your calendar, your email, Google Drive, your project management software, your marketing, everything, right? I give it access to absolutely everything. And then I fed it all of our company SOPs. And I said, build me a prompt to give you to make recommendations on how I need to use you and the gaps and inefficiencies that I'm experiencing as a business owner. I want you to be the eyes that I am not. Build that prompt, gave me the prompt. I copied and pasted it back into it. And everything that it gave me blew my mind. You got to think about it. Like this thing analyzed, I told it to go back and read the past 2 years of emails, the past 2 years of Calendly events, all of my future Calendly events, all my emails, just everything. And you've got the smartest thing we've ever invented looking over your shoulder going, oh, you missed that. Oh, you need to do that. Oh, you need to do that. So it is just an absolute game changer. So strap in. This year's going to get crazy, y'all.
Yeah. Absolutely. You said this is separate than what you're doing with this Land Development Accelerator. Is that right?
No, this is in. Everything we do with AI is built into the community. We talk about it. Members come and they like right now, the call today was amazing. So what we did is we divided up duties and responsibilities. And so like this, we've got some civil engineers in the group. We're like, y'all go build the civil engineering agent. Like y'all do that. I don't need to spend 40, 50 hours doing it. One of the guys that already spent over 100 hours on a land due diligence agent, and he's sharing his instruction manual for that. So rather than us having to spend time to build these agents individually, which is it's a lot of time building them out because you got to train them like employees, and then they make mistakes and you got to correct the mistakes. But over time, they get better and better. They're self-learning. That's why they're called agents and not LLMs. I just copy and paste what he gives me and build my own land agent. I don't have to do 100 hours. Same thing. I'm building a content creation agent. Just copy and paste and they can get it. And so that's the beauty of a mastermind is we share what we're working on and everybody benefits.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because my question is be like, how are you seeing minds being blown in the group, the community of like what AI could be doing?
With the AI, every week with the AI stuff, like I'm in the process. I exported all of my ChatGPT data, which was 3 years of conversations with it. I think it came out in 2023. 3 years. That was my main AI software. I just switched to Claude a few months ago, early at the beginning of this year. And I exported all the data. It was millions of tokens. And it's going to take 2 weeks to upload, but it's going to know everything about me, my business. I'm excited to see what comes out on the other side of that. And then Otter AI, every call I do, every podcast I do, everything is recorded and fed into this Brandon's AI brain that will then be able to make recommendations. It listens to all of my team's sales calls. It'll tell them, hey, here's the recap. Here's where you screwed up on the sales call. You should have said this instead. Do this next time. The self-learning process for getting better at business has hit the exponential growth curve. This is what we're doing. If you want to see what this is going to look like, there's a social media post that I put a few days ago, and it said like all of human progress over time and it's like a little bar kind of slowly going up. And then there's a human being on the end of it. And right at the very end of it, it just goes straight up.
Yeah.
Human progress over time is about to go absolutely bananas. And it's an exciting time to be alive. Very exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. It is absolutely crazy. There's a grade of flying cars we'd wanted yet, but we have this. This is pretty nuts. How are you seeing, I mean, what you've just described is every stage of land development getting accelerated. So things compressed as much as possible, right? The bottlenecks become probably state, local governments until they get some of that in there too, right? But where are you seeing the constraints then? Because going out to a bunch of, yes, you have all of your own internal SOPs, et cetera. Like you're talking about the civil engineering team inside of the mastermind is going and building its intelligence to agents there. But it's really about getting a bunch of other information and running it through these processes to say what looks good, what doesn't, give a whole bunch of outputs as well from agent to agent, passing from one thing to the next as well. So where are you seeing the bottlenecks because of the process can be so compressed?
Yeah, your bottlenecks right now is there's nothing out there that exists yet. I'm trying to work on cracking this code where you can go click a couple buttons and out pops a perfect list of parcels that are ripe for development. Just doesn't exist because there's a lot of things that go into that, like sewer maps. That's not public information. You have to go get that from the city. You need to be able to connect into the sewer to get density. Some of the apps can do topography and wetlands and stuff, and that's good, but there's just nothing exists. So we manually build all of our lists because it's a high quality list. We know the land parcels we want to go after. Sniper approach, not marketing. So that's a limitation, but you can train a VA to do that. Where the real limitations exist because we've automated the due diligence, because we've just gone through the whole DD, which took 4 or 5 hours. Now you can have a DD report in 20, 30 minutes. And that is amazing, the progress that's there. You still have to have government approvals. You still have to have a civil engineer design the civil drawings. That takes months, and there's no getting around it. So we need to figure out how to have AI build the civil drawings, which that's coming. Wait for it. That is going to come. And then if you get that done, the city approvals, I don't know when we're going to expedite that. That's government stuff. Good luck. Yeah. But you can at least shave the amount of time down, because it can take 6 months to make civil drawings, or a year if it's a bigger one. So that's a bottleneck right there. And that's being worked on, luckily. But here's the real key. Where's the real value? Your ability to win in land development in general has a lot less to do with you memorizing all the different things that the city needs. You're not going to be able to. Every municipality is different. They have different zoning regulations. They got different overlays for different areas. And guess what? When you figure them all out, they change them. There's no way you're going to remember it. Your success as a developer has to do with being able to find and distill the information that you need. So if I'm communicating with a council person, for example, and they email me and say, you're going to trigger a conservation standard here. We need you to keep at least 20% of the land undeveloped and yada, yada, yada. And I feed that into my AI agent that's trained on the overlays, that's trained on the conservation standards, the zoning. And I say, hey, what's my loophole here? Give me a workaround. He goes, push back on this, say this. Nice. It's like magic. And so what I'm going to be building is, when I'm on the call with the city, I'm going to have my little AI bot listening in the whole time. And I'm going to have my computer up. And as they're telling me things, it's going to be running what they say through my master agent that's trained on everything. And it's going to say, push back here, or tell them to go reference this. So rather than then tell me something and me have to go look it up and compute and process and then come back and push back and then wait a month to schedule a meeting, I'm going to have real-time data to be able to overcome whatever objections they're giving me, and not have to go through the rigmarole. I made that word up. Maybe it's real. I don't know. Of having to schedule multiple meetings, because you're getting a meeting once a month or once every 6 weeks. And that's like your shot. And then they give you feedback and you're like, oh my God, like, why didn't you tell me that the first time around? I could have done it. And you do that for 4 or 5 months, and it's annoying. But now, like, the next stage of AI agents is real-time information on the call. Like, your sales rep has the screen pulled up, agents listening, sellers talking. And based on what the seller's saying, it's like, say this, here, say this. And that, I mean, we're there too. You can do this type of stuff. So these are the things that we're working on in the mastermind community.
Yeah, that's really cool, because focus on things you can control first, right? Before you go to things out that are further and further outside of the core of your sphere, so to speak. What you're really talking about there is the compression you're doing is by having your real-time intelligence, like you were talking about, so that you can effectively reduce the level of skills, or we'll say domain expertise, or potentially, right, of what the city has, their architects, et cetera, for you to be able to bring up right away. And even if you do know it, it helps you to remind you of that code or that area or whatever to go and reference right away to have that, like you said, overcome objection, but really that bring that into the conversation to reduce it there. It's really cool, man. You're right. We could talk about this forever. I do appreciate it, Brandon. Those listening, definitely go check this stuff out. The idea of, especially if you're interested in investing passively, which that's what this show is. We want to bring not only the many of the well-known asset classes, but also these dive into stuff just like this too, where we can look at all the opportunities how to passively invest while we work on other things. So this was a great segment. I know listeners here are in the tech, they're working with all these things, and it's fun to hear from someone in the space and deep into real estate how you're using AI as well, Brandon. So you've mentioned this earlier, but please mention again, where can people find more about you? Where can people can learn about Land Development Accelerator, anything else you're doing with AI, some of the news you're posting, et cetera?
Yeah, if you want to grab, we got a free course if you want to get into land development at learnlanddevelopment.com. You can go grab it. If you like the idea of being a part of the community of other people that are doing that kind of stuff, getting your hand held through your first deal, there's a video on the same website. You can watch it. And then, yeah, if you're an investor and you want to, you like the idea of adding pre-sold land development deals to national home builders, and that might be a fit for your portfolio, you can go to hbgcapital.net/waitlist. That's pronounced Harry Bob Gary, hbgcapital.net/waitlist. You can watch our whole investment thesis, how it works, book a call with me if you want to. And then if you want to grab our free ebook, 100 Questions Business Owners Ask Before Investing, again, it's on hbgcapital.net. So there's no /waitlist, just the plain website.
And it'll be in the show notes as well. Brandon, thank you so much, sir. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Path to Passive. We love connecting with our listeners and those on the path to architecting their wealth and improving their lives. Feel free to let us know what topics you'd like to see in the future episodes. Get in touch with us through email or Instagram. See you next week for a new episode.